German here wants to adopt the country. Oblige him.
And if anyone could become obsessed with the past with a background like that.
Hey. It's all over. The world ended.
Listen, watch out about choosing your pals, you know what I mean? Don't let them choose you.
It's the Al Travis Show. We'd lucky to have our next guest on. He's Senator Mark Koran. Senator, how are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Good. Thank you so very much for being on the program with me. We get more stories. Yesterday, it was Senator Draheim has decided he is no longer going to, he's not going to rerun for his seat. He stands up, big guy. He's always said he was for term limits. So he's basically term limiting himself, which, give a guy credit where credit's due. He believed in it and he did it. But when you read other stories, according to the take, a total of 747 years of service to Minnesota in the capital are retiring. That's a lot of brain trust, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Pappas is the rest. Years and years and years in. You've been in how long, sir?
I came in with Senator Draheim in 2016,
Okay.
so this will be wrapping up our 10th year.
So you're watching this. Is this a lot in a given year? Is this like, it's pretty normal, don't worry about it? And obviously it comes from the top end. People have been there 40 years. At some point you retire. Is it strange? Should I be concerned? Are the rats jumping off the ship?
I don't think there's
I don't mean that.
anybody jumping off the ship. I think, Senator Draheim, I came in with him. He loves to reinvent himself as well, right? Mm-hmm. He's been an entrepreneur his whole life, and but he's also he was a very good legislator and a very good friend, and so he decided to step out, right? And his kids, he's got just one wrapping up high school and one in college, and he's got a business to run and probably new business ventures in his sights. So
this is what I say about Draheim. He's my senator, by the way. Yeah. So I know him. I know him, and I don't know. But what I've always noticed about him is his head down. This is what I'm going to get good at. A lot of it had to do with the housing and housing redevelopment. Yeah. That's how to get things going on. And he kept his nose down basically with that. I'm going to take care of the stuff I know. Now he bet his conscience, voted his conscience on other stuff. But you didn't see him jumping up to just be on the front page of the paper and say something about something. Draheim was the working dog of the Senate. Is that all right? Is that a good way
absolutely.
of putting it? Okay.
Everybody falls into, what lane do you fall into and your background, and you don't understand what your interests are. You think and your background, and where does it lend well, and then to take a few years to get into those committees and to serve in those roles and the capacities that utilize those backgrounds the best. And Rich was very good, especially around property, right? He's got a commercial real estate or a real estate company and priceless information. So everybody brings something unique, and he doesn't care about headlines. It's about get the job done. Just an extraordinary, competent guy.
Yeah, I enjoy him very, very much. So that'll be a loss. I mean, the guy's got to do what the guy's got to do. But he's going on, and they'll fight it out and find out who's going to fill the seat next. Don't have a real issue with that. Next thing I do have a bit of an issue, and I'd love to chat with you about. The Minnesota Legislative Audit Commission, according to KSP, has picked 4 new state programs that the legislative auditor can focus on for 2026. Sounds great. They're going to range from autism programs in schools, MnDOT's handling of private contractors for state and nursing homes, regulations for state and nursing homes. Mm-hmm. It includes scrutiny on how the Department of Human Services Office of Inspector General does its job. That includes, and that'll be 4 new ones. They are working on 7 as we speak. I want to say it was a month ago, maybe it's longer, maybe not. We had a whole story where the old OLA, Office of Legislative Auditor, came out, Jim, but I'm going to forget his last name.
Jim Nobles.
Nobles, thank you. Came out and did an entire story. He wrote a letter to the editor for the Star Trib saying that we went right out and did our job. We came up with the reports for this. We're talking the fraud. We went to each of the committee chairs, and the committee chair says, thank you very much. We're not going to give this a public hearing. Is there a worse job in the state of Minnesota than being an LOA person to work your butt off, finding where problems are, how to come up with ideas, how to fix them, then turn them in, and your homework's like, thank you very much. We're not using this.
Yeah.
Is any of this going to go anywhere? Should I even get my hopes up that we're going to get a report on this?
Yeah. Well, there's always reports, and again, every member has the ability to. You're going to get the report, and so they're going to go do their work. And we've, what you saw yesterday, instead of doing it all at the beginning of session, picking the topics for the year or doing them for the year, we broke it up to a couple times, and so we think we can get some more work done based on how the current work does, a little bit more fluid. But what citizens don't understand that entity, the legislative auditor, is the only eyes and ears we have that actually has full authority, subpoena power, and everything, and every state agency, including the executive office, and to go out and do financial controls, audits of all sorts, and compliance to state statute. They do all investigation, whistleblower complaints. They take all of those things in. And so they're, jack of all trades, and they have to be experts in many disciplines, and they've done great work. What you're mentioning is that work, or before we go now, the Legislative Audit Commission, for which I've been on since I arrived, blessed to be on there. It's 3 members from each caucus, so it's 50-50 straight across the board. And so we have to work together and find commonality, and the vast majority believe we want to make sure to empower the legislative auditor, give them the tools necessary, but we must maintain that institution because it is the only eyes and ears we have. It is the only eyes and ears we have as citizens and electeds. The report release, there's 2 pieces. You mentioned committee. When a report is released, a committee of jurisdiction, where it falls into, based on what the report is, can always have a hearing, have an open public hearing in their committee. But the first opportunity is typically a full Legislative Audit Commission hearing where we reveal and have the most thorough dialogue to walk through, not only with the legislative auditor, what were their findings and all of those things, and to question them, but also the agencies to come before the Legislative Audit Commission. And it's kind of like the first committee of any bill. It's the committee of jurisdiction where you've got the greatest latitude to talk about every aspect of that process. You will have found, Jim Noble's put a letter in, and he said, committee chairs refuse to do that. Most of them, I don't know any Republican committee chairs who refuse to do that. It's almost exclusively Democrat chairs, because any negative outcome, they appears to be negative to their number one funding of their elections, which is the public unions, and so they won't have them. But also, depending on who's in charge, who's the chair and the vice chair of the Legislative Audit Commission, the chair typically has the ability, decides whether we're going to have those hearings or not. And right now we've got Senator Rest, and she's normally going to be pretty good. She's going to give a hearing to all of those reports that come out, every single one of them, unless it's really benign that we don't think it needs one.
But with the reports, and I'm trying to get it to just Joe Minnesotan.
Yep.
I don't sit in the committees. I don't go sit and watch the committees much on TV. It's kind of boring TV. Committee chair comes and says, no, we're not going to do it. I didn't know they weren't doing it. I thought you did it. Didn't know it. Yep. But the paper doesn't cover it anyway. Here, the story, you bring up the governor's office. The AOL did a report on the governor's office itself.
Yes.
Came up with 12 things they thought they were doing wrong. By the time that story got out, and I saw it was on the day of the election, so it was lost on page 4, that comes out in the story. The governor's, we fixed 11 of those already, nothing to see here, and it's gone. Right. It's done. No one talks about how am I supposed to know, well, is it really fixed? How do you know about them by the time it hits the paper and have them fixed already? Were they that easy to just send a memo and guys stop screwing around until people aren't looking? How do you fix that many kind of problems in a day?
Wow.
But I don't even get the story anymore. You know what I'm saying? Joe, average Minnesotan.
Yep.
We can't keep up. We're trusting the people we put in office will say, yo.
There are a couple good things, though. Jordan Rasmussen, we passed the bill last year to now kind of have an ongoing annual scorecard. And because what comes out of there as well is not only where did they find issues and non-compliance, but also legislative recommendations. And so what are the recommendations and what are the actions taken? And so now there's a scorecard that will be produced annually to at least go through all of those findings and track them on an ongoing basis now, instead of going back, well, when they did this, 10 years ago, they did a review of that same program. What were the findings and what were the recommendations, and was anything done? So that there was no official report.
Yeah, but like 10 years later, still, it's this is what's frustrating me. I'm sorry, I'm blaming you for it.
No,
but it's kind of like the governor comes out and says, "I got it fixed. There was no illegality here. By the way, they looked into it. Nothing illegal was done. It was just seemed like you could get illegal stuff if we don't clean it up." That's the exact same answer we got with all the fraud going on. Yeah. He literally came out. The governor said, "You notice with feeding our futures, not one state employee was found guilty of anything. If you don't look, you don't find." Right. You know what I'm saying? So now you come out 10 years later and say, well, they didn't follow 12 of the 13 things. Okay, they're gone.
Yeah. And in the case, it's a matter of, is it right? First off, the curiosity of the media. Now they've changed. They seem to be a little change in the air right now, but on other things. But one of those issues was 7 of the 9 events held at the governor's mansion. They just mistakenly didn't bill for them. That's a commercial facility which you can rent. And so that's why we had the hearing. And the hearing, clearly the media didn't pick it up much, because of those 9 or 7 of the 9 that weren't billed for some $12,000, we're not even comparing, is that a market rate first off, but 5 of them just happened to be Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan campaign activities and events where they paid for those.
There's got to be something there.
Al, they didn't break a law, but somehow they just forgot to bill themselves in their campaigns for those types of activities. So part of it's on the media. We had the hearing now. So we had the hearing. I made sure to call that out during the hearing. And so the media's lack of, curiosity is the thing that we battle all the time. So
how does that change? Okay, I'm late for the break. I want to go to the break. I'm going to give you the 3 minutes to think this over. So how does that change? Is Minnesota destined to be behind the 8 ball, and that we never really know exactly what's going on? This is the first I heard of this, not billing yourself for the party room. I've never heard that. I'm up every day reading all the papers I can, getting all the info I can. I've never heard that. How do we fix that so people at least can be honest with themselves when they pull the lever for voting? We'll talk about that after this. Maybe a little too heady for this early in the morning, Senator. I'm sorry, but we'll talk about it right after this.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Think about it. Now that school's back in session, how are Minnesota students doing? Not very well. Minnesota ACT scores fell again last year and are the lowest they've been in 10 years. In fact, fewer than half of Minnesota students can either read or do math at grade level. Think about it. We used to brag about our schools. Now we're losing to states like Mississippi. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
I am probably putting way too much on Senator Mark Koran to get me out of the dumpster here today. Second story, Housing Stabilization Services Company owner, I get his name wrong, but it's Leo Human Services, 26 years old, has pled guilty to defrauding Minnesota out of $2.7 million in basically stuff he never did. He basically turned in stuff and he got paid. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I get to read this story. Now it's done. He's going to jail. How could it be that easy? $2.7 million worth of work that was never done. He got checks. And this is at the same time you're just telling me minutes ago the governor and lieutenant governor had things at the mansion they're supposed to bill each other for, but just did not so far. Maybe I'll do it later.
Yep.
I just heard that from you now. I've never heard it before. How do I find out? How do you become an informed Minnesotan to realize there's nothing keeping the hens in the hen house anymore? The door's wide open. There's no way you can't. A 26-year-old kid got $2.7 million, never did a thing. The governor doesn't even feel necessary to follow the rules and charge his own company for, his own. This is crazy, sir.
Yeah, and Al, these are the simple things. Right? There's two separate things here, right? The fraud and the ease in which we allow that to occur. But the governor's piece to wrap up the Legislative Audit Commission work is those are simple things. When campaign finance, it's pretty simple, right? We have things that we do while you're elected that are and some costs we bear as a result of being at the Capitol that are constituency services that have to be paid by our campaigns and vice versa. That's a simple one. You can hold, it's a public event, like a venue where anybody can schedule activities there. And so they did it. So I asked the curious question, well, of those that didn't get paid or didn't get billed, not didn't get paid, didn't get billed, who were they? Five of those events were Governor Walz or Governor or Lieutenant Governor Flanagan's campaign activity events, which should have been billed and paid. Subsequently, after the fact, now it's paid, and coming back and saying, oops, you caught us. But they didn't find anything in that report that they did right. This kind of we don't know who's running that, the governor's office, but it's not being run very well.
But how do we change this, sir? This is back to what I left you with. Yeah. How does Al get confident that I know what's going on in my Capitol? Because I don't. Again, chickens are running the hen house as far as I can tell. How do we get that fixed? If it's not the Star Trib, if it's not Channel 9, Channel 5?
Yeah, there's others, Alpha News and those out there. They're far more inquisitive, if you've noticed in the last few weeks on all of that. They're asking questions they haven't asked in 6 years. And in relation to fraud, especially the one you just mentioned, the one young kid, and there's dozens of them, and that was so easily taken because nobody's actually paying attention, and by design, and it's disgusting. And with that, where was it going to go? They're not going to be able to prosecute, right? That's just one of the guys that prosecute. There's billions of dollars in fraud they're never going to be able to get to. And so for us, how do we get the information out there? We do it. I had it in my info, right? We all try to promulgate that stuff. I do believe, this is me, Mark Koran speaking, we've got to find a way to start to deliver our own messages to a broad spectrum that's outside of the traditional social media. And we've got to use every vehicle and venue we can. But when the media, and even, there's been some change in the social media world, by and part, most of our emails, I get emails that go straight to trash now. They don't even go to junk. And so you look at how those messages are stomped and the ability to deliver something that would be a negative, accurate, but a negative, put the Democrats in a negative light. Somehow just doesn't seem to get broad promulgation.
I follow as much as I can, and I had no clue about this governor. Now he's caught up now because the AOL caught him, or AUL? Okay, I gotta fly. OLL, thank you. I'm out of time. I appreciate you, my friend. I do appreciate what you're doing, trying to fight the good fight. And you let us know what's going on. You get something you think's interesting, you send it to me. We'll talk about it. I know you're a good source of information. You'll be honest with me. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
Thanks,
Senator Mark Koran on the Al Travis Show.